Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga show, the Thursday evening edition here in the Bundesrepublik ahead of Matchweek 31 of the Bundesliga season. We're getting well and truly into the final home straight now. We hope you guys can join us and give us your predictions as well for how you think the 9 fixtures are going to end up this weekend. We got a massive weekend in both the top flight and also in the Zweite Bundesliga as well, where myself and Peter's interests are very much going to be vested ahead of this weekend. Peter, are you looking forward to it?
Oh, Mark, what more could you possibly want? Thursday Night Live with my dear friend. We got a pretty great weekend coming up for us too personally, and also on the world's best footballing beat. This is great. Thursday Kicker is leading with Ziel Europa. Halbe der Liga is still in the running. Augsburg's here for some reason. But we've got Leipzig, Werder Bremen, Borussia Dortmund, Borussia Monchengladbach, Augsburg, Stuttgart via the Pokal, Mainz and Freiburg, who are all still in running for Europe. This is going to be a fantastic weekend on the world's best footballing beat.
Yeah. FCR. Yeah. But yeah, we're not biased, trust me, guys. We're not biased. But yeah, anyway, let's get kicking off. We've got our Friday night game back. Yeah, we're all happy about that. We did miss it last week on Good Friday, although it was nice in some ways just to sit back and chill that particular day. Hello to Balam as well. Good to see you back in the chat. Yeah, hope you enjoyed our DJK Filzing video as well, just before the back end of March, I think it was now. Time just flies, doesn't it? It really does. We'll come to your question just in a little minute when we talk about Wolfsburg, Balam as well. So yeah, let's start. Again, we seem to say this more or less every week with a Baden-Württemberg derby, but it's not really a derby. Again, it's another one of those kind of games. Even though they're in the same state, it's it's quite a big distance apart. I would imagine at least 150 to 200 kilometers apart with these two, I believe. And it is obviously VfB Stuttgart, who've been on a rotten run in the league, haven't they, of late? Playing out that excellent 4-4 draw last week, but ultimately the result wasn't really what they wanted. A point still wasn't good enough to get them back in the Europa League race. And it seems as though European football rests purely on that Pokal final for them now. As for Heidenheim, they've got bigger problems to worry about, problems such as staying in the league at the minute. And after that good run, they've now once again hit 3 straight defeats, and it's starting to look a little bit bleak for the Heidenheimers again and Frank Schmidt's men. So they will travel west in hope that they can pick up even a point which will aid them to potentially get that playoff spot or even overall safety. But for me, it's all about the home side, this one. I think under the lights, in front of the Cannstatter Kurve, they've got to pull in a performance, a 90-minute performance again. The attack looked far better last week with the likes of Undav, Mio and Furich getting back onto some kind of form ahead of this game. As for Heidenheim, they were just thrashed basically last week by the champions in waiting, Bayern Munich. But yeah, I think as a result of that, I have picked a home win here. I'm going to go for a comfortable 3-1 Stuttgart win, even though there probably is more lying on this game for the away side. I just feel as though the quality of that aforementioned front line should guide them home in this game. Peter, what are you going for?
We sync up exactly here. Absolutely. Stuttgart should dominate this match. Nick Voltemade returns from suspension. I believe that Denis Undav will probably also start up front in place of Demirovic after that wonderful goal last week. Hoeneß wants to get his confidence rolling again. There is an issue. It was confirmed today at the Hoeneß presser that Enzo Mio is out, so I'm not entirely sure who's going to serve on the wing there. Jakob Grün-Larsen, perhaps, which we all know how that ends usually. He was playing for Hoffenheim. I was a little concerned when I was putting this tip together where the Hoffenheim or the Heidenheim goal is going to come from. Certainly not Honsack. Maybe we'll go with Warner. He scored his last Bundesliga goal in the Hinspiel against Stuttgart. So actually, it's funny you mentioned that derby thing, because I was doing the Frank Schmidt presser today, and he insists that this was a Swabian derby. And I can that no one Stuttgart cares about this. So we sync up on this one exactly. This is a fairly easy one. What do you think about your Fuggerstädter and their prospects away at the collapsing defending Bundesliga champions?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If there's ever been a time for the Fuggerstädter to get a win here against, the defending champions, it probably is this weekend, because the Fuggerstädter just seem to be going from strength to strength for me. I thought it was another strong performance against, a strong Eintracht side last week. They could easily have ended up getting another big win under the belt there had they been able to beat the inspired Kevin Trapp on that particular day. But as for Leverkusen, it was just another bleak performance really against Pauli, wasn't it? And they're just not creating chances. That's the problem with them. It's just all this possession football through Palacios and Garcia, but nothing's really coming out through it, So I just feel like I've never seen a more blunt-looking Leverkusen team in years, probably since we've kind of covered this show in detail. Because, Leverkusen have always been a good attacking side that have scored goals, but just at the minute, Xabi Alonso's side just look absolutely beleaguered, to say the least. The Fuggerstädter will be as tenacious as always. It won't be easy to play through that midfield with Onyeka and probably Jakic lining up in that tough tackling midfield. And then they can always nick a goal as well with the likes of Claude Maurice, Tietz or Ascende, depending on which one starts. And, it's such a well-worked team, this. And if worse comes to worse, they've always got the inspired hands of Finn Darman to bail them out at the last line of defence. So this might not be what the fans want to hear, because obviously we need a Leverkusen win to kind of keep the team in the title race. But I've actually gone for a 0-0 draw here. I think we're going to see a 0-0. I think Augsburg will ultimately be happy with a draw, considering they've got Kiel at home next week, which is a highly winnable game. And I think they will believe a point or just about keep them in the European race. I'm not going to go for an overall shock, because Leverkusen still only lost 2 games in the last almost 2 seasons in the league. So I've gone for a 0-0 draw here. Peter, what are you suggesting?
I will go for the shock here. And this is based on the fact that actually Augsburg beat Leverkusen twice, not last season, obviously.
They did, yeah, that's true.
The preceding season. So everything is, of course, falling apart at Germany's Red Company team. The latest player who is considering leaving, I wrote a piece about this week, is Robert Andrich, who is dissatisfied being the number 4 midfielder, understandably so. Everybody's bags are packed. Everybody's sitting on the Koffer, just as Thomas Tuchel was at Bayern last season. And I think this is a fabulous match for Augsburg to take it. I was a little bit concerned who's going to score the goals, but I will give Ascende 1. And here's my hot tip of the weekend. Fredrik Jensen, after his failed transfer to St. Louis FC, or St. Louis SC, I should say, will take the place of Mert Kurmur, who was actually underwhelming in his Bundesliga start last week. And what will the Finn do, Mark?
He's gonna lead them to a win, of course.
Oh, no. The Finn is going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a shock one, 2-1 win for FC Augsburg, and we're going to get all these Leverkusen departures confirmed next week. The title race is already over. Xabi essentially conceded it last weekend, as did Patrick Schick. So they've let's get this over with. Let's get this all over with, and a big win for the Bavarian Schwabians.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'm going to put your result in there as well, Peter. Yeah, and there's a good old-fashioned Augsburg win. And then obviously that game would not quite confirm the title, actually, incredibly. It would rely on Bayern Munich still beating Mainz 05 in order to officially confirm it. They'd need more than a 9-point gap. They need a 10-point gap at the end of this weekend to officially confirm it, even though we already know it's absolutely dead in the water, the title race. And Peter, I'm going to let you lead out on how you think the champions in waiting will do against the off-form Palzer, as you call them.
I actually call them the Rheinhessen. My team are the But I was actually, this one could get ugly. I was doing Bo Henriksen's press conference today, and of course this wonderful Danish Rumpelstiltskin boob always has great things to say. He was looking back at that 1-8 defeat back in March 2024, and he said we were fabulous in the opening 8 minutes. We didn't have a lot of chance to talk about Mainz on the Monday pod, so I went ahead and did some research there, and I was just thinking to myself, what players are responsible for this drop in form for Mainz? And I had mentioned the fact that Kachi looked a little bit sluggish, some heavy feet there in the wing-back position. And, now that I looked at it and looked at some of the previous matches, I think Mwene, the former Kaiserslautern man, has actually been pretty poor as well. He might have been carrying that injury for a long time. So Mwene is back, and Kachi, I think, is in poor form. If you've got bad wingbacks, and it's funny that Mainz, they're having the same wingback problems as Lautern. The two Palatinate sides are both having these wingback issues. You're not going to be able to stop Bayern in this one. And it's something of a shame because they played well against Wolfsburg last week and probably deserved to win. Mainz, an interesting stat here with 36 goals against. They have the 3rd best defense in the league. And that is a back three consisting of Stefan Bell, Dominic Kor, and Danny Da Costa. Stefan Bell will be back this week, taking the place of the injured Moritz Mercedes Jens. Unfortunately, I don't think it makes much of a difference here. This should be a fairly easy win for Bayern. I am going to go with 3-0 for the German record champions.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look beyond that. Obviously, potentially Harry Kane is going to end that very, very famous drought this weekend. The kind of well-documented trophy drought. It could be about to end as early as Saturday afternoon. So we will have to wait and see. But I totally agree, Peter. I just don't see beyond a Bayern win. I think, there's going to be a lot of anticipation for this game, knowing that they can take the Meisterschaft, in this game. For me, I think Mainz are just really struggling, aren't they? As you said, it looks a leggy team. It's a team that, probably the playmakers have also gone off form in recent weeks. Amiri, we've not seen as much from in recent weeks. Sano has gone a little bit quiet. Maybe it's just a case that the legs have gone in some players as well, because, it's not the biggest squad in truth, the Mainz roster, as you would call it, Peter. I'm going to go for a 4-1 Bayern win. I do believe Mainz will get a goal because they normally score, and Bayern don't really keep that many clean sheets, to be honest. So I am going to go for a 4-1, but it should still be a comfortable home win, this one. So, let's move on to a game that myself and you saw last season, Peter, didn't we? Hoffenheim Dortmund. It seems a long time ago, but that was the last time the two sides met at the pre-zero arena, actually. And at that time, things were going a lot better for Hoffenheim, actually. They looked a decent team that particular day, and were probably in some ways a little bit unlucky to lose against Dortmund that particular day. But as we look now, it's two teams in completely different veins of form. It really is. And unfortunately for the home side, they're not on the right side of that form at the minute. They are one of the worst form teams in the league. They've been one of the worst teams in the whole league, let's be honest. And they're deservedly sitting in 15th place coming into this game. Meanwhile, obviously, Dortmund have made a massive upturn, as we mentioned on the Monday night show. Impressive form since going back 3 to the back. A lot of players on form at the minute for them. Guirassy is just killing it at the minute. Nemec is back and firing, so things are looking a lot better for them. And it's hard to look, in truth, beyond a comfortable away win here. So I'm actually going to go for a pretty heavy one here. I'm going to go for a 4-1 BVB victory, which is going to put them on the brink of the Champions League, incredibly, too. So respect to Niko Kovac and the improvement he's garnered there. Peter, what are you going for?
Well, I believe you and I both tipped the Dortmund-Gladbach match perfectly last week, which, in fairness, wasn't a difficult one to tip given the circumstances. Thank you for bringing up the fact that we did attend this match live at the Prezero Arena last year. It was actually quite memorable, and that was you remember when Julian Rierson scored that short goal at the very, very end and ran the entire length of the pitch. That was really, truly something. And the Dortmund fans saying "Auf Wiedersehen" to the Sinsheimer faithful.
Yeah.
I very much believe in Dortmund's Aufholjagd, and we talked a lot about Dortmund on the Monday pod. We talked a lot about Niko Kovac staying. We talked a lot about how he has stabilized the team against all odds, and how the Dortmund, what the Germans would call the Aufholjagd, is probably going to be successful. That they will climb up into the Champions League spots. There's a lot of personnel issues with this game that gave me problems. First of all, we're not sure if Bayer will be available. I think Pascal Gross is definitely out, although Kovac was playing his cards a little bit close to his vest at the presser there. I don't know if that's going to be a serious problem, because not only could Emre Can, with some rest, fill in at the 6, but Chukwuemeka could as well, and he could indeed fill in for Bayer and do a fabulous job, as he did last weekend. With Hoffenheim, we have Bischoff suspended. That matters, but Østegård is back, the defender. We also have Kramaric, Mr. Hoffenheim, who is in great form, and he's Mr. Late Season. He always scores late in the season, particularly when Hoffenheim are struggling. Look this up, and he scored 9 goals in 15 games against Dortmund. So that is a little something. But in the end, I'm going to go with the exact same scoreline that I tipped last week, 3-2 win for Borussia Dortmund. I think that they're strong. I'm not overly concerned about Gross's absence, though he has been in very, very good form lately. I'm really, really eager to see if Chukwuemeka can replicate what he did, essentially instigating all 3 of those goals last week against Gladbach. So that should make for a lot of fun. I guess we can get to Balam's question about Wolfsburg Freiburg. Of course, Balam was also quick to point out that Harry Kane is hungry for a plate, and he should be eating off the Meisterschale of this coming, not the real Meisterschale, but they'll hold up the little foam one, or the plastic one.
The real one's 20 meters down the road from where I live, in the Kicker Museum, I believe, right?
We've taken pictures in front of it, Mark and I.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Our pilgrimage to the German footballing, the sacred German footballing temple. Speaking, I also forgot to mention that the Bierfraulines will be out in force should Bayern clinch the title. So Harry Kane will enjoy that as well. To my knowledge, I would put the odds of Hasenhüttl leaving at about 95%. And the same applies to Christian Ilzer of Hoffenheim, which we just discussed. This is being treated as a fact by most of the reputable German footballing publications for the very legitimate reason that Wolfsburg's new managing director, Peter Christiansen, the Dane, whom I've previously referenced on this pod as some guy who really does look like a comic book villain. I don't want to cross that guy in a dark alley at all. That is one seriously mean, hard-looking Dane. He wants to bring in his former trainer from FC Copenhagen. I believe his name is Jakob Niestrup. And, of course, Marcel Schaefer, who went on to Leipzig, he hired Hasenhüttl literally days before he left. So Christensen wants to bring in his own man. The only way that I could see Hasenhüttl staying is, pardon me, my mic was muted there for a second. If Wolfsburg actually, climb up the table and maybe get to the Conference League spot, I suppose it's arithmetically possible, but I just don't see it happening. So I do believe that Hasenhüttl will be available to coach on the Isle again, if you guys would so like to have him. And when it comes to Wolfsburg Freiburg, how about this? This is another match that we attended. Of course, in this case, we attended the Freiburg Wolfsburg at the Europa Park Stadion right around Christmas time. And personally, my favorite vlog that Mark and I have ever put together, because the game was so great. The fans were so amazing. It was even my first time in the Europa Park Stadion. And I was really impressed. I thought it would be corporate and boring and didn't compare to the Dreistamm, but it was amazing. So what's going to happen here? Well, Wolfsburg are actually, I wouldn't call them a bad team, particularly. They put in a decent performance there against Mainz, but we again have injury issues. Unfortunately, Kevin Paredes, after making his first Bundesliga appearance of the season, is blown out his Achilles and is back to the bench. Skov Olsen as well. And when it comes to Freiburg, I don't see any reason for Julian Schuster to change the starting 11 from last week, in which we were gushing over this on the Monday pod. Everybody in German footballing circles was gushing over this. The Johann Manzambi show. Good Lord. What a Jude Bellingham-like talent this young 19-year-old Swiss youth international is. Can he do it again? 2 weeks in a row? Fitness in the Bundesliga.
Really, after the Gladbach display as well. Yeah,
that's true. Well, but he came off the bench there, so I mean, can he do it again as a starter? I'm willing to wager yes, and I'm also willing to wager. And this is really, I had to think about this because I thought to myself, is this going to be a high-scoring game? Where the goal is going to come from? I'm going to go with a 3-1 Freiburg victory. And another Lucas Höhler brace, his third of the season. Did I mention was it Timo Müller from Kicker compared him to an ice hockey center forward?
Yeah.
Because of the way he body checks. Man, I really like Höhler. So, yes, to the Breisgauer, which are supported and attended also by our good friend Cam Smith. A big 3-1 victory away at the Volkswagen Arena for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game, wasn't it? When I was kind of analysing the fixtures this week, I also, had fond memories of our trip to the Europa Park Stadion. It was a little bit colder that night, wasn't it, than it is currently in the Bundesrepublik. But yeah, it was a bit darker as well, in truth. But it was such a brilliant game to watch live, and what was a brilliant 3-match triple header of matches that weekend as well, which was really awesome. But yeah, it's hard to look beyond obviously the SCF completing the double over this Wolfsburg side. I mean, it's a game between one very, very formed team and one very off-formed team, really, in Wolfsburg. Because, okay, they got a point at Mainz, but let's be honest, it was a really scrappy and kind of undeserved equaliser right at the back end of that game that bailed them out there. I don't think Freiburg are going to be so generous. I genuinely think Freiburg are playing the best football they've done all season. And Champions League is really possible for them right now. They kind of, they've won the games that they should have won for most of the season. And now all of a sudden they've clicked into this brilliant vein of form. And I just feel as though, as you say, the Manzambi, but also Doan, what football he's playing at the minute too. Doan and Grifo is always available. Then they also have Bester, who's barely played since he came in, really. He doesn't seem to have played much at all from the start. So it just proves the quality they have in this Freiburg side. And it's hard to look beyond them to win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 here. I don't think it'll quite be 3-1, but I really think that the SCF are going to continue their march to even the Champions League this season, which would be magnificent to see from a neutral's perspective. So, yeah, let's move on to another game. Kiel Gladbach. I mean, this is again a game where, there's a lot riding on it. I mean, for Kiel, we're getting to must-win territory now. We really are. I mean, if they don't win this game, looking at the remaining fixtures, Augsburg away, Freiburg at home, and Dortmund away, I mean, realistically, maybe a point at Augsburg is the best you're going to get, really, from that fixture list. So I think they really have to win this game to give them any kind of hope. They come up against the Gladbach side who aren't playing well at the minute. They were okay against Dortmund last week, but I didn't feel as though it was a stellar performance by any means, really. Kleindienst has gone off form a little bit for me at the wrong time of the season. I also feel as though the likes of Player has been pretty non-existent the last couple of weeks. And also defensively, too. They have problems with the goalkeeper. I doubt, surely they can't go with Omlin again after that horror show last week. So they might even end up bringing Pereira Cardozo back into the fold after being dropped last week. So also, let's be honest, Gerardo Seoane isn't safe either at the minute. I mean, if they keep losing, say they finish bottom half again this season, he's got to go, ultimately, I feel. And as you say, his interviews get worse every week at the minute, and he's just not exuding confidence and, that almost Bond villain kind of look that he's got, the slick back hair and the tight suit, is not looking that good on him at the minute, So I'm going to go for a draw here, actually. I feel as though Kiel will get something, but I don't think they're quite going to be good enough to win this game. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. Peter?
We've been mentioning those Seoane press conferences. This week's one wasn't much better. He really looks as in a bad shape as he was during those final days at Leverkusen, I have to say. We have the surging Storks, the surging sprinting Storks, and this has become quite the sensation after, speaking of press conferences, Marcel Rapp's press conference last week, in which he was so energetic and he was so excited. He mentioned that his team was only 3 points removed from the relegation playoff place and that they were going to get there. Quite the bold proclamation. And indeed, another one of the figures that we were talking about on the Monday pod, your former FC Nuremberg sporting director, sort of widely regarded as an administrative genius, Olaf Rebe, he said the same thing. He said, I believe that Kiel has 6 matches left in them, so he believes they're going to get to the promotion relegation playoffs. I think Gladbach have been in terrible form. I think they've been in terrible form against Freiburg, and they were in terrible form against Dortmund last week. However, a lot of this has to do with the fact that the midfield has been soft, and when you have, a player like Julian Weigl, there's been some exit links. I think that he can recover in time for this match because, after all, I mean, what threat are Kiel really going to pose in the midfield? Also, Gladbach get 2 important actors back who have been injured. A lot of the form dip has been due to the fact that Robin Haak and Frank Honorat have not been available. Seoane did state that they should be available for this one at the press conference today. And he also thinks that he'll get Luca Netz back. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but at any rate, I think that with the returning, the 2 returning players, Honorat and Hack, if you can get them up there on the flanks, Kleindienst and of course Playa has been in god awful form. But Sturger started last week, did he? And he did okay. So, I think Gladbach get back on track here. It's not the most exciting tip, really. Everybody wants to see this Kiel side actually pull off the sensation. And very, very few people, not least Borussia Mönchengladbach fans, want to see Seoane on the bench for his 3rd consecutive season next year if they don't manage to qualify for Europe. But I think they get it done in this one, and I think the Foals beat the Storks 2-0.
Yeah, good tip, but not so good for Stefan Rapp's prediction that they're going to get another 6 games this season. Anyway, yeah. Well, he is a Nuremberger. You've got to be hopeful, being a former Nuremberg guy. Yeah.
I think they're gonna. Kiel are also missing Komenda and Zek, the 2 central defenders. Zek had that collision with Peter Gulaschi in the Leipzig match last week, and they. Now Rapp was saying, "Oh no, we might put Zek in there." Are you nuts? I mean, the guy. I mean, after that concussion, I mean, he was unconscious. I think that's just silly. I think that's irresponsible, is what I think that is.
Yeah, that'd be a bit silly, but I guess needs must in this case. But anyway, let's move on to the 3rd game of the weekend that myself and Peter have attended as well. At least we attended the game in Leipzig, didn't we? Between Frankfurt and Leipzig, and obviously it's a good top spiel this week because it's really such a big game. This one, it's between the teams that are currently 3rd and 4th. I mean, the winner of this game for me gets Champions League. I have no doubt, really. I think if the SGE get it, they're going to be too far ahead in the table to realistically fall back with only 3 games to go. And also, if Leipzig get it, with the form behind them in the back of winning a massive game like that, then you'd imagine they'd be able to hold on to top 4 for the last 3 rounds. So it's going to be an interesting one. But I think, the SGE, they've been a little bit off form in recent times. Obviously, they were really disappointed against Tottenham, to be honest. The whole Bundesrepublik had the faith in them to come good there. And I felt as though they kind of disappointed against what is, in my eyes, a pretty average Tottenham, who are languishing well down towards the bottom of the Premier League at the minute. So that was disappointing. And then obviously they followed that up with a hard-earned but underwhelming point against the Fuggerstetter as well, ultimately, which has put them, needing to win this game really to keep the kind of form going. They probably take a draw as well, in truth, to keep Leipzig, at bay. But with the potentially, Dortmund and Freiburg late season form, that is going to be providing a lot of concern for both of these clubs at the minute. As for the game, I think there will be goals. I think it will be entertaining, but I've just got a feeling that the SG won't quite be able to exact revenge for 2 defeats in Leipzig this season. Let's not forget that they were also knocked out of the Pokal as well by Leipzig. So it is a big game. It's going to be a big top spiel, probably a lot of protests against RB Leipzig, a lot of 50+1 and things like that. But I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw, this one, for me. Peter?
Oh, man, did I have to think about this one. Well, when we begin with Leipzig, I mean, how bad did they really play against Kiel last week? I would say pretty bad, as a matter of fact, despite the fact that, I mean, ironically enough, the only player that I really liked in the German Red Bulls in that match was Christoph Baumgartner, who did a mediocre job of filling in for Xavi Simons. And this 4-2-2-2 that Zolt Löw has reinstituted, the RB system 4-2-2-2, it's all of a sudden it's gotten stale almost immediately. And that some of that has to do with the fact that Baku seems to be running out of steam, and he doesn't have the right 6-6 pairing. He put Vermeeren and Seiwald there together, and it didn't exactly work out too well. To the point of Frankfurt against Augsburg, you and I were talking on the Monday pod that was actually a very entertaining 0-0 draw, particularly the second half. And I think that Frankfurt were actually very, very good in the second half. I mean, what he did was Topmüller he went into a 3-4-2-1 system. He got Batshuayi off the pitch, thank goodness, and also Jaime, who were awful. And he brought in Knauf and Bahoya as the wingers, and they did a really, really good job, and Brown and Christensen did a good job balancing them too. I mean, look, the Tottenham match on Thursday was draining. They had an early kickoff on Sunday. He rolled the dice with Batshuayi and Chaibi, who had actually been a little bit of a form uptick, but I think he found his best tactics back. So in this case, yes, I am going to go for an Eintracht Frankfurt win. Maybe a German football fan is betting with his heart a little bit here, but I will go 2-1 for the Rhein-Main Adler. And as Captain Slugger points out, Leipzig have never won at the SJ. Well, they've beaten them twice this season, once in the league and the Pokal. But I mean, I suppose it could be the case that they've never won away at Deutsche Bank Park, or the Commerzbank Arena, as they used to call it back in the day. Possible. I'll look it up while Mark leads us into Bochum versus Union.
Yeah, so another big game. I mean, obviously, at this stage of the season, it's normal. Almost every game has something major for either one or both the teams. In this case, only for one of the teams, but it is a massive game for the hosts, Bochum. And let's not forget, one thing we've got to kind of use to preface this game really is obviously this is the famous game which could potentially, the reverse fixture in this match was that highly controversial default victory which was given for Bochum. What was it in the end? 2 months after the game was played, it was finally confirmed, due to the hapless Druez. Probably the only good thing he's done all season, really, isn't it? Taking that lighter to his head, and they got the extra 2 points on the back of it. Yeah. So basically that is basically the only reason why Bochum are realistically in with a chance of staying up this season, because I think if they were 4 points back at this stage, I mean, it'd be looking absolutely bleak for them. But as it happens, they're only 2 points back of Heidenheim. So, but Union have picked up form, 7 unbeaten now. They've played really good football for a good while now. They've started scoring a few goals. They're more and more dangerous from set plays. And this might suit Union a lot more than it would have done earlier in the season, to be honest. Well, okay. So I think that, Union will be able to match them for work ethic. They'll match them for desire in this game. They will want to stay unbeaten until the end of the season, which is somewhat realistic given the fixtures that they've got now leading in. And whereas for Bochum, they've got to win this game. It is another one that's very hard to tip because it really could go either way. I mean, Union are going to want to get revenge for what they'll see as an absolute injustice, really, in some ways. The fact that, a point was docked from them and 2 extra were given to Bochum, which obviously in the end hasn't affected Union at all because they've stayed up very comfortably under the impressive Steffen Baumgart. But they will want to definitely avoid defeat in this game. They won't want to give Bochum another heads up here in their fight for survival. So I've gone for another draw in this one. Actually, I've gone for a 1-1 draw, but it could be the back end of this game that Bochum just push to try and win it, to be honest, because, I mean, is a point really that useful to them in this kind of fixture? But I am going to go for a draw anyway and keep that unbeaten run going for Union, but it would be relatively useless in truth for the VfL Bochum. So, Peter, what are you going for?
Well, I have to weigh in on this grünen Tisch points that were awarded to Bochum. If you're unfamiliar, am grünen Tisch, on the green table, is how Bochum were awarded these points. In not just somewhat controversial fashion. Every German football lover is absolutely fuming over this. The decision by Bochum to make this appeal was, first of all, Patrick Drewis got hit with that flare in the 89th minute. So for them to file for this on competitive grounds is absolutely outrageous. And furthermore, I wrote, 6, 7 articles on the ruling. It was a story that I could not allow myself not to report on extensively and exhaustively. And in the ruling and the appeal, which was shot down, the German sporting authorities, DFB and higher up above in the arbitration court, made it clear that they were putting down this ruling not on the basis of any sort of a competitive aspect. This was an anti-pyrotechnic ruling. This was aimed at discouraging the use of pyrotechnics in stadiums, which German fans are simply livid about. I'm sorry, that's part of our culture. That's part of our Bundesliga. That is who we are. And I could fume. Okay. Well, I promised Ballum still remembers that Peter is a VfL Bochum tactics hound. So what is Dieter Hecking going to come up with this week? Well, hopefully not Philipp Hoffmann in the starting lineup. Let's put Bohat back there since he's rehabilitated. Ivan Orditz returns, and he can take the place of Medic in the back three. Both Bernardo and Tim Orman are the subject of outgoing transfer rumors. It appears as if Bernardo is headed to Frankfurt after being linked with literally every other club in the Bundesliga. Frankfurt. Orman is going to go to Leverkusen. So the rebuilding project starts with Tim Orman. Wonderful.
Do we want to be in a relegation dogfight?
Yeah. There is a fairly big news, of course, in the suspension of Ibrahima Sissoko, which means that Anthony Lucia will probably move into midfield, or he could give Panovig the start. I don't know why he didn't give him the start last week. But in any event, every German footballing fan is going to be rooting for Union in this case. We absolutely, even people who like VfL Bochum, even VfL Bochum defenders such as myself, even VfL Bochum enthusiasts such as myself, who defend this nowhere town and the fact that Herbert Grönemeyer can't sing. I always like to have this guy. I mean, I like to have this team in the league, partially because I'm also a huge Christoph Biermann fan, the German author who's from Bochum. But not this year, all right? I absolutely want Union to win. I would love for them to score 4 goals like they did last week. I have no idea how that's going to happen. So I'm going to echo your tip. It's going to be a 1-1 draw. I actually went with a 0-0, but considering all the German football fans that will be tuning into this, rooting for Union, for the love of God, Eisernen, give us a goal. I don't care, Querfeld, just keep shooting from 45 meters out or 34 meters out. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Because nobody wants to see Bochum win this match. Nobody wants to see them stay in the league this year. They have outstayed their welcome with this.
They've kind of become like the bad boy of German football, really, Bochum, haven't they, in a way? Because like they just, I don't know, just the way often the ironic thing is their fans have been in a lot of trouble themselves in recent years too. I remember for the situation against Gladbach too, when the game was abandoned. So,
but that was Gladbach was up 2-0 at the time. Yeah. The referee was hit with a beer cup. I mean, this match was over for all intents and purposes. This match was over. It was the 89th minute, and if you're going to make it about pyrotechnic, it's not going to discourage German fans. When are we going to stop pretending that this is going to stop? It's not. I mean, it's still kein Verbrechen. Okay, there's my rant for the evening. I dropped the microphone.
Pyro forever. Yeah, Over the Bar Bundesliga show stands fully behind the usage of pyrotechnics at football games. Yeah, no kids. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So let's have a look. So just to finish off the weekend, yeah, we've got an interesting game, another Northern derby, isn't it? Between Werder Bremen and St. Pauli. So I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere, as it often is over in the Weser Stadion, especially with the Pauli fans, not having very far to travel for the late kickoff on Sunday. Obviously, again, it's two teams in good form too, really. Pauli continue to impress, don't they? They really do. I mean, performance-wise, they've just been so steady the whole season, and just the fact that defense has barely had a bad week in the whole campaign. I mean, for a newly promoted team, it's highly impressive stuff. And, had they just had that slightly more clinical striker, they could easily be, where Gladbach, Augsburg are right now, I feel, in terms of performances at times this season. As for Werder, their season has been one of ups and downs, hasn't it? Very high, very kind of high highs, and that one very deep low in kind of early 2025 when they couldn't buy a win at that period. But obviously things are looking a lot better for them again now. And, maybe not quite Champions League, but definitely Europa League looks very, very much a possibility, especially should they be able to win this game. The problem is, as you can see on the table, is that by the time kickoff comes, they could be as low as 10th if myself and Peter's, tips are correct. Because as the kicker correct, or was it the build correctly said, everyone is in for Europe this season, basically. What the result's going to be, this is a really hard one to tip for me, because I think Bremen didn't hit the heights really last week against Bochum, but were able to get the win. I feel as though Pauli are a much better team, a much better organised side than Bochum, and they are going to make it difficult to win. And, they still need maybe another 2-3 points to be 100% sure of their Bundesliga survival. So definitely they are going to be trying very, very hard in this game to get the result. So as a result, I've actually gone for another draw to finish off the weekend. So we're looking at, for me, I've tipped 4 back-to-back draws to finish the weekend. I've gone for another 1-1 because I just can't split these teams. And I feel as though there's a little bit of pressure on Bremen to go out and beat Pauli, really, and get themselves right in that European race. So I think Pauli have just been so hard to beat the whole season, really. And I feel as though it's going to be a 1-1 draw here. Peter, what have you gone for?
Well, this was supposed to be an easy one. Bremen are by far the hottest team in German football with 4 wins, 4 consecutive league wins. And last week was another important victory against Bochum. Wasn't the prettiest win, but on a technical and tactical level, it was extremely impressive. Marco Friedl, good God, he had some real monster Grätsche in that one and really saved his side, helped ensure that his side got all 3 points. It wasn't the prettiest win, as I said, but it made sure that they got 4 straight there on the trot, and everybody was really backing Werder for Europe. Of course, what happened this week? The team's most prolific scorer as of late, Scottish striker Oliver Burke, has been signed away by Union Berlin, and it has been made quite public that the Werder Bremen administrative team had been trying to sign Burke to a contract extension, but they did not believe in him to the extent of, after those loans, those 2 loans to it's become very, very public knowledge that they tried to lowball him with a 40% pay cut. So this is total administrative disaster right when the team is on the verge of qualifying for Europe. And, right after a big home win last weekend and, just a beautiful choreo from the fans and everything. And how does that affect this match against St. Pauli, who are actually also in incredibly good form? They had that comeback victory against Kiel 2 weeks ago. They have the draw against the defending champions Leverkusen in the Capper last week. Everybody on that team is absolutely full of confidence. They haven't officially clinched safety yet on 30 points, but they could probably, effectively do so this weekend. I believe they can't. They can't arithmetically do it this weekend, even with a Heidenheim loss. But this is a good team. They're really confident under their head coach, Alexander Blessen, who has been linked with the soon-to-be vacant trainer positions in the Bundesliga, like Wolfsburg, which is going to go to Niestrup, like Hoffenheim, which is probably going to go to Kocak unless they get Wittmann fully out of the equation. It's a good team, the Kiezkicker are, and they are really excited to steamroll, and they also drew Gladbach. They want to make sure that they don't get relegated immediately again, like they did the last 2 times they were in the German top flight. And guess who's really been? I think he's one of your former boys, is he not? Sinani,
he's a former Wigan boy. Yeah, he used to play for Wigan Athletic. Incredible, English team. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, he's just been fantastic. And though Afolayan and Saad sort of had he compensated for that, in the last couple of weeks. Oof. Oh, this is tough. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for the Kiezkicker. We went with a 2-1 win over Leverkusen. They were also playing in the Capper last time. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win here, and I see Bremen with this distraction. I see them halted. That's the Augsburg win and the St. Pauli win are my 2 hot tips of the weekend. Don't forget to put Paul's comment up there as we close out the show. Welcome to the Bundesliga, Mr. McGarity.
Let's just put his tips on as well. It was great. Yeah, he's gone for quite a few different ones to us actually there, but we'll see. And a few the same as well, actually, to be fair as well. So, and obviously, we are going to be meeting up with Paul himself as well over the weekend as we head over to Kaiserslautern, Peter's Kaiserslautern, to see what is going to be a wonderful occasion against fellow heavyweights, Schalke 04. Obviously, Nuremberg's, let's not forget, Peter, this is also Nuremberg's friendly club as well, Schalke. So, we'll have to see who comes up, trumps there. But it's going to be a great occasion for myself, Paul, and you, Peter. And very much looking forward to getting back to the Pfalz for the first time in about 18 months or so. So definitely looking forward to that. So, guys, just a quick look at the table just before we finish. If we are correct, it would lead to Bayern Munich lifting the title. And obviously, Harry Kane, the big English news will be that Harry Kane would be finally end his drought, career drought of having never won a trophy of any kind before. So the wait is definitely surely no more than 2 weeks old now for him. So, and Leverkusen would be kind of drifting away into second. Basically, their last 3 games would literally be pointless. All 3 of them would be dead rubbers in that case because they couldn't finish anywhere other than second, regardless of the results, should these matches go ahead. So Jabi will be even more fed up than he is now, basically. Eintracht will keep their 3rd place, but only with 3 points to Leipzig, if my tip is correct. And Freiburg, incredibly, just like kind of in the nick of time, nipping into 4th place, which would be incredible. With all the form in the world behind them, could we see the SCF in Europe or in the Champions League next season? Obviously, Dortmund also would be very, very handily in 6th as well, waiting for any kind of slip up and having a much superior goal difference to any of the teams just above them as well. So that would be interesting too. And even the FCA potentially got as high as 8th with the form behind them as well. So it's all to play for ahead of this weekend. As for the bottom three, as we've said, pretty much the entire season, it will be very much as you are, with only Bochum potentially picking up a point, which wouldn't do that much help because it would keep them still in 17th going into the last three matches. If Kiel can pick up a point, it would help them moving into just 2 points behind Heidenheim and within striking distance as we come into the final straight. So, yeah, thank you very much to Peter again for seeing us through this week. And we'll see you again on Monday. And also, don't forget, we will be doing a vlog, I believe, as well for the Kaiserslautern Schalke experience. So check out our Instagram and all that at Over the Bar FB to kind of follow us on our weekend. So thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure. We'll see you again on Monday. Ciao, ciao.